Good evening, everyone, and welcome into the program. Welcome to Tigers Tonight. I'm your host, John Maddox, joined by one half of the best co-hosts in all the land at the palatial Marley Manor in beautiful, scenic, mostly crime-free Hernando, Mississippi. It is Larry Marley. Larry, how are you this evening, sir?
I am well. Again, you and I have been talking about this for years. There's a reason why we do the show on Tuesday. And because the game was on Friday, we had an extra day to sort of get over our grumpiness of spending a quality Friday night watching that football game, staying up late, as a matter of fact, to watch that football game.
Yeah, I think I walked out I walked in my door at 12:33 a.m. on, I guess that'd be Saturday morning.
Yep.
3 hours, 41 minutes of not exactly exciting, riveting football. But Memphis comes up with the win, 27-20. Mario Anderson led the way for the Tigers, 25 carries, 144 yards, 1 touchdown. I think this was Seth's worst game passing-wise as a Tiger. Just 14 of 31 for 159 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 really bad interception.
Yep. And his quarterback rating was a 36.9, which is, abysmal. I thought offensively, honestly, and if you go back and listen to last week's tape, this is the game that I thought we would see. The score was, we gave up the late touchdown, which sort of made the score look closer than it actually was. But Memphis was up 14 points with, a minute to go. Rice gets a late touchdown, tries an onside kick, which obviously they don't get, and Memphis just kneels on the ball. Well, we had to get it. They kicked deep, and then we had to get the first down.
But, yeah, I didn't understand the deep kick.
I didn't. Right, yeah. Because Memphis gets the first down. That was a heady play by Seth. That was look. There were good things Memphis did in this game that I was happy to see. Seth pulling the ball, that was one of them. 4th and 1, we lined up in an I with the quarterback under center, and we pushed the ball forward. These are good things, right? These are good things. We didn't line up in shotgun and try a zone run, right? The read zone. So these are good things in Memphis. And I thought Brandon Thomas played his tail off. Really nice touchdown run. And just overall, this was a Ryan, I'm going to go out and pound them kind of game. And we were down early, and you're like, oh, are we going to let them hang around kind of a thing? You're up, 17-13. But then Memphis gets the 2 touchdowns or the 10 points in the fourth quarter, more or less, up 27-13. That puts it away.
Yeah, the third quarter was just this, nobody could get anything going. And you thought coming out of half, in the third quarter, no score. The 2 teams combined for 134 yards. Let's see, Memphis had 5. There were only 9 first downs there. So that third quarter was a bit of a slog. But again, as you said, Larry, the fourth quarter, Memphis outscored 10-7, and that one was really late. Tigers 3 of 5 on third downs in the fourth quarter. That was really the difference in the quarter. Memphis also controlled the football almost 10 minutes of the fourth quarter. So, nothing like Army did on Saturday in their game, 21 plays, 94 yards, 13 minutes, 54 seconds. I literally fell asleep, woke up, and Army still had the football. That's my kind of drive right there. Just sucks the will out of you. So, as you come out of this, Larry, it's just another like you have it there. It's like just playing out the string, nothing special. Nothing real bad other than Seth's performance, nothing terrible. But
it's not exciting. Look, you didn't walk. I didn't walk away from I walked away from the football game going, we won. Look, they fumbled at the 2.
Yeah.
Or that's a whole different game, right? Yeah. They fumbled at the 2. We get the ball. And ultimately, we turn that into points, because they punt back to us, and we ended up scoring. But, look, Rice is a fumble away from, I think having a double-digit lead in that game. And And so did we get lucky? I mean, our athleticism and physicality took over in the second half. But I mean, the truth
Great.
was, this didn't light it. I mean, we didn't. And it's about. It's points this year. I was like, we played down to the team. At this point, I don't think we're playing down to anybody. This is who we are.
Yeah.
Of course you are. I mean,
Yeah.
you're just a slog. I mean, it's not fun to watch. It's unexciting. And the people that go there that are going to go Saturday, I'll probably try to go. Because it's the last game. But I mean, the truth is, like, there's nothing exciting about this game coming up Saturday. I'm sorry. I hate to say it like that, but it's just true. Right? I mean, is anybody truly excited? The Battle of the Bones and all that. But the truth is, you've got a bad UAB team coming into play, an A that nobody wants to go watch and see. That's just the truth.
Yeah, the whole deal is kind of tough because you are sitting at 8-2, and you came off another strong defensive performance. You hold Rice to 121 yards on the ground, just 6 of 16 on third downs. But yeah, it's just one of those deals, and y'all have to forgive me tonight. I'm still battling the sinuses that. If you were at the game Friday night and heard me announcing for the band, I made it almost all the way through, but the last Mighty Sound of the South, my voice just kind of gave out on me. So struggled a little bit with that. So yeah, I mean, just another good defensive effort, a good effort. I mean, that's, kind of who Memphis is, I think, at this point, is they're going to play hard. They're going to be tough. And if people like it, fine. And if they don't, fine. I am still of the opinion that there are no pictures on scorecards, and a win is a win. But the reality is at this point, Larry, we were talking about it before we went on, it's 5 years. We haven't come close to the conference championship. And this was the year, right? Like, this was the year. You have a senior-laden offense, a senior-laden defense. You go out and you get a kicker, which is something Memphis has needed. And it's worked, but not when it needed to work. And
it hasn't worked offensively. There's no question about that. You cannot argue that. Seth's numbers are down. Offensively, our numbers are down. Our scoring is down. So you cannot argue in any way that it has worked offensively, because it has not. Defensively has gone pretty much what we thought, John. I have to say, it's some of that is because of the way we played offense.
Yeah.
But the defense has played well, even against, except against Navy, the defense has played fairly well. North Texas was, one of those deals like you and I talked about. It's just one of those weekends that happens in college football. But in general, the defense has played very, very well. And obviously the last two games are going to tell the tale as far as what, because do the kids, what are they made of? Are they going to? Is it important for them to finish 10-2? Right? Is that something that's important to them?
Yeah.
Does it? I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it probably doesn't matter at this point. You're not going to the conference championship, and you're playing a bad. I'd say it for what it is. I mean, I don't think I'm stepping out of line saying you're playing a bad UAB team. They're 2-7, 1-4 in the conference. So this is a bad team, right? Do you go out? Do you do what you should do and beat up on them, or do you go out, roll the ball out there, and play ugly football like we've seen all year? And I think you're going to do this the second. You're going to win, probably. I say that. I mean, you probably are going to win. But, can you play that game against Tulane and win?
No.
Right?
No.
Right? I mean, can you slog it out? Can you get them in the mud? I don't think so.
Yeah,
Now,
I don't
we've
either.
shown at times that we can, we can score. I mean, we showed that against North Texas, but UTSA, we got in that and we didn't answer the bell, right? So we'll see, as Brian says. Since Brian's not here, I'm gonna use his.
It's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting.
Memphis 3 of 3 in the red zone, 21 points. You like to see that, scoring touchdowns every time you get in the red zone. Rice ended up kicking 2 field goals being in the red zone to start the game. And then, as you said, they fumbled on the 2-yard line. So they have 3 trips inside the 10-yard line and 6 points to show for it.
And that's your ball game. That's the ball game right there.
Yep, that is the ball game. And it was just one of those, like all the other Memphis games have been this year. It was just kind of a slog. It was just, let's get through this and let's move on. You look at the drive chart, Memphis all compacted in there in the second quarter, and then a couple punts, then touchdown, punt, field goal, win the game. And Memphis just with 2 3-and-outs, and that's a lot better than it went against Charlotte, where they had 9 straight possessions of just basically playing hot potato with the ball. Yeah, and John's right. I mean, it felt more like Rice lost this game than Memphis won. But Memphis did enough, and that's kind of been the theme of their season is we're good enough. And it's such, Larry, it's such a I'm so torn. Real quick, Chandler Martin with 11 tackles again. He was the TBWA or the Tennessee Sports Writers Association Defensive Player of the Week. Davion Ross chipped in 9 tackles. A.J. Watts played really well. He had 6 tackles. Davion also broke up 3 passes, had a quarterback hurry, and got credit for that. Or actually, the other fumble that Rice almost lost, they put it on the ground twice, and Ross caused that one. So, another good defensive effort, special teams. Thought Vandenberg did a really nice job, hit 2 42-yard field goals. The second one was pretty pressure-packed. He really needed that one to kind of give Memphis that little bit of cushion and put it through the uprights. So, I don't know how many different ways. That's why tonight's show is probably going to be a little short. It's like, how many different ways can we say the same things over and over again? Memphis does enough to win and enough to get off the field, and you're sitting at 8-2. It's kind of hard to argue with that.
No, and that's been the fundamental thing. Like, you're 8-2, and if you want to argue that if the schedule was better, would we be 8-2? Probably not. I mean, I'm just going to tell you straight up, right? Probably not. But you can only play who's on your schedule. You can only play the teams that are in front of you, and that's where you're at with it. If you want to complain, then and I'm one of those that did. Like, all day Saturday, I just was like, I don't even want to think about it, right? I got so many other things to think about. This is not high on my list because the game was just nondescript. I'm glad they won, and that was about all I could say. And you can make the argument like it was a nice bounce back game because you just got beat by UTSA, and you're coming home to play a bad Rice team, fired their coach, like the whole thing, right? We talked about that last week. I mean, if you want to paint, look, you can paint a rose on this thing and just say they bounced back, they came back and won the game, and on to the next one. So you're 8-2.
Yeah, and along that line, Memphis gets down 6-0, and it was, whatever. But one thing I want to say about the schedule, I think Jeb's right. I think the players are a little uninspired and bored because the schedule's so bad. But I wonder how much different would people feel if Florida State were 8-1 and that one loss was us, and if South Florida was better. Like, I think that probably changes the trajectory of how people feel.
Sure.
Because as the season's gone on, you've got Florida State, who just got beat 52-3 at Notre Dame. South Florida's been terrible. The bad teams were bad, but the couple of good teams that you thought you would see turned out to be not any good. And the Navy turned out to be better than everybody thought they were going to be. UTSA, we thought they were going to be good, and they aren't that great. So it's just kind of been this, what do you call that? Whiplash of, you have teams that back again, Florida State, South Florida, you look at the schedule. We were talking about, we're like, man, that is the stretch right there. Navy, Florida State, Navy, USF, like that's the stretch that will define the season. Well, it kind of almost did because Navy really did break Memphis. And, Ryan said last week or this week in his presser that, when asked about the offensive struggles, that, this offense was built around Sutton Smith. And I've said that from the get-go that was a problem. Now, we could also rightfully argue maybe that we're at game 10, figure something else out. But I don't know how easy that is built the way we were built, because we were literally built around what Sutton Smith could do and his talents. And Mario Anderson's a completely different back. Greg DeRosier is kind of like Sutton, but he's been hurt and he hasn't, he's new. So, Jeb's right. Navy would be hard. It always is. Nobody believed me when I said we're going to beat Florida State and lose to Navy. Everybody thought I was crazy, but that game is just always kind of a trap game. And then you think when you go to USF, you're like, man, we're going to get caught with our pants down here. Well, USF has a backup quarterback, and they end up not being very good.
And you had the hurricane. They got relocated, the whole just thing.
Right? Yeah, I think that, Memphis has caught some breaks in that regard. But, 8-2. And at the end of the day, you're 8-2. You're headed to your 11th straight bowl game. That's something that personally I will never take for granted, and I will never apologize for going to a bowl game. Because we've had some.
And I don't care where we go, including Shreveport. Like, I won't go, but I don't care where we go. That's always going to be special to me.
Yeah, well, we know how you feel about Shreveport.
I'll watch it.
All right, well, we're going to step aside for just a minute. When we come back, we will talk about the battle for the bones, Memphis and UAB, coming up on Saturday. You're watching Tigers Tonight.
Now hear this. Hear me now, massive and crew.
And we're back, and thanks to MemphisWeather.net, Eric Procius dialing up the forecast for us. When people say football weather, this is what I think about. Low 60s, upper 50s, clear skies, nice little breeze blowing. This is football weather, not all this junk that people talk, it's 20 degrees. This is this is football weather. This is Chamber of Commerce football weather right here. So Memphis and the Blazers on Saturday from Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. It is senior day, and Memphis is going to be saying goodbye, Larry, to a lot of very important pieces on Saturday.
Yep. You count them up, and you look at the way these kids have played. This was Silverfield's team, right? This is, and he may not have recruited. I mean, some of them may have. I think one came in with Norvell. Was it Colby Drake? Is that the only one? So this is his team. This is Ryan's team. And look, we've got some fantastic. Seth obviously is going to be up there. Rock is Colby. Obviously Mario's here for 1 year, but a lot of fifth-year seniors are going to be leaving us this year. And, you look to next year, and man, you're just looking at like where are you going to fill? Yes, you've got players coming up. But, man, Chandler Martin, I mean, just go up and down the list, right, of guys that are just you're muted, bud.
I think Chandler will be back. He's a redshirt junior, but you're right. You look down. We'll start with offense. Senior. redshirt senior, redshirt senior, redshirt senior, redshirt junior, redshirt junior, redshirt senior, redshirt senior, senior. So, but if you look, not getting too far ahead, but if you look, you've got, a couple young quarterbacks. You'll have Sutton Smith back next year. You'll have Greg DeRosier back next year. So you've got some guys behind. I'm a little more worried about the offensive line for next year, but we're getting way ahead of ourselves here. But so you've got UAB coming in, and man, they are just bad. The one thing I will say that they are very good at is they are the number one team in the conference against the pass. They're only giving up 158 yards per game, and in conference games, they're giving up a little bit more. They're giving up 188 yards. So, Memphis is going to have to pick their spots. And this is a game to me that may play to Memphis' strength, because as good as UAB is against the pass, they are dead last in the league against the run. They're giving up 230 yards on the ground or overall, and in the conference they are giving up 258. So they're not last in the league against the conference. That's crazy. Temple is giving up 268. So, bad pass or great pass defense, bad run defense. Isn't that kind of the theme of the last couple weeks? And Memphis has been able to really run the football and kind of matriculate it down the field. And I think that's what's going to be called for on Saturday is strong running, because the passing game hasn't showed me it can really do it against bad teams.
And you will, I think what you're going to see is Memphis do exactly that. They're going to run the football. UAB hasn't shown they can stop it. And if you're Memphis, that's what you've proven that you can do. I mean, 207 yards last week against Rice. If you do that again, keep their offense off the field, control the time of possession, and yeah, I mean, that's what I think you're going to see. It's not going to be pretty. Again, if I had to guess, UAB probably will score more than Rice, but I think Memphis is going to score more points, and so it should be a little bit higher scoring game. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to be exactly that, John. We're going to run the ball, keep the ball, keep away from them.
What would you think if I told you Memphis was third in the conference in time of possession? Did you ever think you would see a Memphis team? And that's behind Army and Tulane. That's not even.
I was going to say, I would say that's only because we were in a conference with Army and Navy. It is exactly what I was going to say.
Army, Tulane, Memphis, UTSA, Navy. And against conference opponents, Memphis is third in the league at around 34 minutes a game. And you go back to 2019, Memphis is seventh. 2018, Memphis is sixth. So, this is who they are. This is the team. And for better or worse, Memphis is going to be what Memphis is going to be. And in this series, UAB actually leads 10-6. They went through
all 10 of those wins was that one quarterback, Daryl Hackney.
Yeah,
he played there for 10 years. I mean,
Daryl Hackney.
He was 10-0 against us.
One thing that I think may be a difference this week is Cam Shanks is probably the best punt returner we've seen all year. He's been a weapon, but man, he's averaging about 22 yards in the punt return, and he's got 2 return touchdowns. So, that's going to be a guy that Memphis is going to have to watch. Of course, Amari Thomas has over 100 career receptions now. And, Memphis won 45-21 last year. So, we're just going to see, this is a UAB team that has beaten, they beat Alcorn and they beat Tulsa. That's it.
They lost
they're coming off
badly at Louisiana Monroe. And Tulane hung 71 on them. Okay. So Tulsa hung 59.
They beat Tulsa 59.
I'm sorry, they hung 59 on Tulsa, so they can score. But I'm just saying they can score a little bit. I mean, even in some of their losses, they put up some points, but they've just been shellacked anytime they played anybody with a pulse. And I guess we're going to find out, what our heart's beating at this weekend, because if we play with a pulse, you should win this game.
In the game against Rice, Tulsa or UAB is up 20-3 at the end of the first half. And they give up 21 fourth quarter points. And it's just, that's just, to me, I looked at that game and I said, well, if you're going to fire your coach, this is the game after that you fire your coach. But then part of me says, well, what good does it do at this point to fire your coach?
Right. I mean, unless you've got somebody you're going to hire.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you already know who you're going to hire, okay, well, then don't wait. You go ahead, you fire your coach, and you kind of get that process going. But if you're just firing your coach just because he sucks, just wait until November. To what end of the month? They got 3 more games.
Yep. You got to get to basically the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and then you fire whoever you want to fire. And I'll be stunned if Trent Dilfer's the coach at UAB next year. That'll be because they may not win another game. They may end up 2-10, 1-7 in the league. So. Although they have Rice at home, I think that's a winnable game, but I don't think Charlotte is for them. So, that's just remarkable to give up 28 points. Although UConn, let's be fair, I think that was either their 7th or 8th win on the season. They broke a streak of 11 straight losing seasons this year, so they are obviously headed in the right direction. Jeb's right. There's some financial stuff at play here. They may not be able to fire him. They may not have the money. I don't know his contract status.
I don't know what his contract is. Yeah.
But, they may not be able to fire him. Game will be on ESPN2. It kicks off at 7 o'clock. Again, it's senior day for Memphis. I want there to be a good crowd, but I'm not really optimistic. I don't think people want to watch this team this year. I just, and people can take that for whatever they want to take it for. I don't really care anymore. I just don't think people want to watch it.
Here's the thing. Sports at its core, and you and I have talked about this many times. Sports at its core is entertainment. It is entertainment. That's what it is. This is the entertainment business. This team is not entertaining in any way. They don't beat up on bad teams. They play down to the level of their opponent, if you will. They don't. There's nothing where you go out there and go, wow, like that was fun. There has a, other than I think I enjoyed watching. That was a fun game to watch. But other than that, John, you and I have talked about this. I mean, this team has been ugly from the jump. And, we dismissed the ugly wins against MTSU. We dismissed some of the other ugly wins earlier in the season going, well, when they have to, they'll turn it on. They haven't. There's nothing fun about this season. And, I hate to say it. The kids, I'm not questioning whether the young men are playing hard. I think they are playing hard. They're doing exactly what they're being coached to do. But this is not fun. And, this is what you said it 2 weeks ago, I think it was, or even last week, where you said this is the team that
Larry Porter wanted.
That Porter wanted. This is what he thought he was going to be able to do. But he couldn't recruit the players. He couldn't coach them. Ryan can actually recruit the players. He can get them. And he is playing exactly the way he wants to. He is.
He's playing this like an NFL offensive line coach.
Yep.
Defense, run the football, don't turn it over, don't make mistakes, get out of there with a W.
And almost no margin for error. So if you screw up, like, there you go, right?
That's the problem with playing so tight and close to the vest is you can't always, it's not as easy. Everybody's like, well, they'll just flip us. Well, that's not always easy. It's not easy to just constantly have to flip the switch. And, thankfully, Memphis hasn't played good enough teams. UTSA, there's your example. They're a little better than their record indicates. Memphis couldn't get that switch flipped. Couple bad play calls, couple tight play calls, and that game spirals out of control.
Yep.
Again, Rice gets down inside the 10-yard line twice and comes away with 6, or 3 times and comes away with 6 points. You've gotten lucky some, but hey, again, you're 8-2 and you're sitting here scratching your head going, boy, 8-2 sure feels like 6-6, or 5-4, whatever you want to say. 5, or maybe 5-5 is kind of what this feels like. There's about a 3-game, cushion in here for how the bad teams Memphis has played and how poorly they've played in those games. I don't know. We'll see. I think I said you'll see a lot about this Memphis team against Rice. You're going to see even more where their mind is this week. Now that all the others, they can technically, mathematically make the championship game. But boy, when I say everything has to go absolutely perfectly right, everything has to go right. You've got to ask East Carolina for help. You've got to ask Navy for help. You've got to ask Charlotte for help. Like, everything has to go perfectly right. And it's probably not going to be that way. So you're looking at, you're sitting here, you're looking at the end of the year, and let's say you do manage to beat Tulane. You're sitting here going, gosh, 10-2, going to a bowl game doesn't feel, even 9-3 is not going to feel that great going into a bowl game. I don't think Memphis fans are going to be excited to jump in a car or jump on a plane and go somewhere. But I don't think the season, I asked this poll on Twitter and I was really surprised, but then I remembered you usually get the loudest voices that thinks things are the worst. Almost 66% of people said it's not great, but it's not a disaster. It's a very mid, as the kids like to say.
Oh, it's not a disaster. 8-2 is not a disaster. There's no scenario where 8-2 is a disaster. But it's not 8-2 6 years ago, because the schedule is just so watered down at this point. And you haven't have we beaten anybody with a winning record? I don't know.
Nope.
I don't think so. So, I mean, you haven't beaten anybody with a winning record. And, you've got one more chance. One more chance. If you beat Tulane at Tulane and then go and win your bowl and you end up 11-2, I mean, then you just...
Or even 10-3. If you drop Tulane and you go win your bowl game, you're 10-3. You're probably going to end up in a bowl against a Power 5. So, like you did against Iowa State last year, you win that and you go into this next season feeling pretty good. The problem is what you got coming back next.
Yeah, it's in no way, shape, or form looks like what you had
season. That is the big thing.
Right. And you're looking at it going, okay. And then you look at the schedule next year and it's not set up the way this year's schedule is either. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't know, John. I have very mixed emotions about these next 2 games. I just have mixed, let me be very clear. I think Memphis goes 1-1 the next 2 games. I know last week I said they dropped both of them, but that was just, your whatever. But I think Memphis actually goes 1-1 in the next 2 games. And then I think you had a really good chance of winning your bowl simply because you've got all these guys that are going to be playing their last game and they want to go on a high and all of that. And there's nobody that's going to opt out because we really, other than maybe a couple of guys, we don't really have any real pro prospects. So you may be playing a team with, like you say, we're probably going to get a Power 5 team, and you're probably going to play somebody with opt-outs, right? So I know we're going to talk about that later, but here's my point. My point in all this is that at some point in February, we're going to look at this and go, okay, why did we think it was so bad? Right?
No, I don't think so. I think you're going to look back at this and it's. I don't know that I'd use the word bad, but I would definitely just throw it the missed opportunity. Like just, this was it. This was the year that Memphis was built to go. First year of a 12-team playoff, senior laden team, easy schedule. It's all laid out in front of you. And I tell people it's not the 8, it's the 2. The 2 are the problem, especially one of the 2. Coming into the season, if you'd have told me we'd lose to Navy, although I guess I did, you'd go, oh, well, Navy's not going to be that good. Memphis may lose, and that may end up being a bad loss. Well, that ends up being your best loss, right?
Right.
And then the UTSA is a loss. But, the thing is, Memphis just got to take care of business, just eyes on the wall and just, push through it. So as we wrap up here tonight, it is going to be 10:41 p.m. You will look up at the Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium scoreboard, and it will say
38-21. This feels like a carbon copy. I think Jeb said this, but I agree with him. This feels like a pretty much a carbon copy of last year's game. Memphis, they just can't stop us from running the football. We don't have the firepower at running back that we did last year. And that's not to take anything away from Mario or any of the guys, but yeah, Jeb, you just carbon copied me. 38. I think I had 38-21, but we're basically saying the same thing. Memphis, they just can't stop us from running. And, I think you'll see big games from Mario. I think Brandon will have another good game. I think we'll have one of the running backs that'll have a breakout, probably a long run or two. And then that'll be it. I just don't see UAB being able to put enough points up to stay with Memphis.
You're not going to sucker me in again. I got 21-10 Memphis. I don't have any faith that this offense will come out and dominate a defense. I just don't think Memphis is built that way. I honestly don't. I think Memphis comes out and just hands the football off 35 times, let Seth throw it 28 times and get out of there with the win. 21-10, 24-14, somewhere kind of in that ballpark. I'm waiting for this Memphis offense to explode. Like you're sitting here and you're waiting and you go, well, they exploded against North Texas. Well, they kind of got in a shootout. They had no choice. I'm waiting for Memphis to explode. And until they prove otherwise, I'm going to sit here and go, well, they're going to score 21, 24 points and, be content to win 24-14, 21-10. And, we're going to hear the same things all week, tough win, a lot of things left on the field. I ask in the locker room, who found something they need to improve on, and everybody raised their hand. Like, we're going to hear the same things until they show me otherwise. I mean, look, I want nothing more than to come back on here next Tuesday and say, or I guess it'd be Tuesday after next, and say, hey, I was wrong. I'll eat the crow. I was absolutely wrong. Memphis scored 52 points, and I was wrong, and they won 52-10. But until they prove otherwise, I don't buy it. I think Memphis is just going to be content to be who they are. And, I've said this before. Tommy said it when he got fired. He said at some point winning's not going to be enough. And I think honestly, Larry, that's just about where they are is, the fans between the lackluster play, the hole in the stadium, it's being more difficult to park, which is going to get even worse next year. There's all the construction around. There's all kinds of excuses why people aren't coming to the games. And, people are looking, instead of looking for a reason to go, I think people take every opportunity to not go.
Agreed.
And that's a tough place to be.
If this was a fun team and you were, putting up a lot of points and these were just fun games to go to, right? It would be a whole different world. But like I said, this is the entertainment business. At the end of the day, they're not entertaining. And the fans are like, you know what? I'll go watch something else because
Yeah.
that is what it is.
All right. So for Brian Moss, who couldn't be with us tonight, for the one and only Larry Martley, it's John Maddox signing off Tigers tonight. We are off next week. We will be back. I guess it'll be what, 23rd?
Thanksgiving week.
26th.
Yes,
We'll be back
26th.
26th before the Tulane game on Thanksgiving Day. So until next time, we will see everybody. Everybody have a great couple weeks.